Okay, so we are going to do an oil change on the old Bronco today. We have 6 quarts of AMSOIL. The only thing I use in my cars is AMSOIL 5W30, and 1 oil filter that I should have turned around the other way. And 1 oil filter. And we want to change the oil. She's got about 9,000 miles on her. This will be her second oil change. I always do one on a new vehicle. I do one at about 1,500 just to get that initial oil out and whatever contaminants it's picked up out of the engine. And now it said it was down to about 20% oil life, so it is time to do a new one. So as you get prepared, if you don't have a set of ramps, get a set of ramps. They're very, very handy. You can get under this thing without them, but you're going to be pretty cramped trying to remove the skid plate and the things we have to do. So get a set of ramps, put her down in low 4, so you just barely crawl along. Use the crawl gear or first gear in the automatic and just ease up them. Doesn't hurt to have a spotter if you've never done this before to make sure you don't go off the other end. Okay, so what do you need when you crawl under the car? As you can see, I am under the car. I have my nifty little socket set there. I know people are smart enough to tell you exactly this wrench and that wrench. I just bring the whole set because it's all got to get out of there and go back in it anyway. 15 millimeter will take off this skid plate. You have to take off skid plate to get out the drain plug. And handy dandy oil filter wrench. And I bring 1 quart of oil and the filter with me. The reason being is the filter is right up there. Basically right behind the driver's front tire. And there's something pretty cool here I'll show you when we get to that part, so stay tuned. Take off the skid plate. So there's 4 15 millimeter bolts. So this is the skid plate. Let me show you here. Here it is, it's out. You will notice the front 2 holes are slotted. You do not have to take the bolts all the way out on those. Just loosen them up enough. And then the back 2 holes, you have to pull them all the way out. So anyway, just a little tip for you. So here is your crankcase drain. That is also a 15 millimeter. Basically, the only thing you need if you're a bring one wrench kind of fella to do your oil changes is a 15 millimeter socket, and you should be able to drain your oil. And of course, a oil filter wrench to get the filter off. And that's really the only 2 things you should need. Here we go. Here's a nice shot of the old oil draining out. So while you're under here and you're waiting on the oil to drain, this is a good time to just get a good look at everything. Look for anything broken, look for anything loose, right? Just generally check things out. See if there's just something obviously wrong. You don't have to be a mechanic to figure out that a nut's loose. It's not difficult by any means. It is a good idea. There's not a lot of like service points under here, so I haven't spotted a grease zerk yet. There probably are. Most modern cars use lifetime bearings that don't require greasing, unlike the old 81 F250 sitting up there that's got a grease zerk about every 6 inches, and you can spend half the day underneath there with a grease gun and a whole tube of grease greasing that silly thing. But It's an 81 F250 and it still works. So kudos there. Ford did a really good job back then on building stuff to last. I will give them that. I'm not a Ford guy generally, but that's probably one of the best things I've ever bought, that old truck. Done draining. Next step is put your oil plug back in and snug it down. I'm sure there is a specification. There's probably one for every nut, bolt, screw, and everything else on this thing. Next step, we're going to pull the filter. So we need our handy oil filter wrench way on up in there. The filter sticking out right there. Get a hold of it. I'll let that both hands, so I'm going to set the camera down. Probably maybe with this. Back it out there. Get it loose. Ford did something really cool here. So I'm not a Ford fan particularly, but if you can see this channel right here, this goes up, follows it up, and comes out underneath that filter. Ford knew putting that filter on sideways, which is really bad manners for Ford to do that, but they are the only ones that I've ever seen. I've owned a lot of cars in my life that have figured out that when you put it on sideways, the oil won't stay in it. As soon as you take it loose, it's going to start running. So they put this nifty little channel right here. Just channel that oil down and into your collection container. So I'll hit it. I'll try to reach up in there with the other hand and not wear too much of this. And we're going to see if it works. There we go, guys. Almost a good shot with my aiming, but there it is. Right out of there. That'll let us get enough of that oil out of the filter that we can without making a huge mess. So far cleaner than I have been on any Ford machine I've probably ever done in my life. I got a few little splatters on it. So I'll go ahead and put the camera down for a minute and get the filter the rest of the way out of there. Or not, maybe I can do it with the camera. I'm not sure if you guys can see anything. But there again, this is not rocket science. Just get out of there. Hammer these on, they just need to be snug. You put them on so they shouldn't be all that hard to get off. I just wanted to show you all that little channel. I thought that was a really neat thing that they did. So that filter lets you upright so whatever's still in it doesn't come out of your head. Like the other, let her drain for a while. Make sure that all gets out of there. While it's doing that, we get ourselves ready. Okay, so we've got 5 quarts in. We're going to back her down off the ramps, get her up here on the driveway where it's nice and level, and we'll let the oil settle, shut it down, let the oil settle. 5 quarts should be basically 1 quart low, and the motor's fine like that for the few seconds it'll take to do this. And we'll let it settle, make sure all the oil is down in the crankcase. When you check your oil, you generally want to be flat, level, turned off, and having allowed the oil to settle into the crankcase like it should, so it's not still up in the engine. Otherwise you'll get a false reading. So be patient, take a couple seconds, and we'll be back to you, and then we'll top it off. Okay, so we're back. We backed her down. I let her set long enough for me to go put the ramps and stuff up. Doesn't have to be a huge amount of time, just a little bit. And we're going to check the oil. So pull your dipstick, wipe it good. There'll always be oil up on your dipstick, so you can wipe down. I don't know if we can see this. We'll try to show you. Bring the focus so you have a low mark, which is a hole right there. Maybe the camera can focus on it. You have a crosshatch space, that's where you want your oil to be. And you have another hole here, which is your high mark. You should not go above that high mark. So, in there, all the way down until she clicks and seats, straight out. And we are reliably right in there. Wipe it a couple times just to see what I get. Wipe it off good. Different reading, better reading now. We got oil on the dipstick, but it's way down here at the end, which is what we expected. We figured on being a quart low when I backed it off there, but now it's level and I'm down on the ground, which is handy. We'll cap out, set it aside, funnel back in, and each last quart going. Lid off over here. Expected to take this whole quart. I have others around for a spare if I need it. With AMSOIL, because it is an extended life oil, but this stuff is designed for 12 months or 25,000 miles. So you do want to have an extra quart around, because any motor will burn a little bit of oil over that period of time. Even though I probably won't let it go that far, I'll likely change it in 6 months at 10,000 miles or so, about like the book says to do, just because as long as it's under warranty, I don't want to fight with Ford over it. I would win eventually, but it would be a pain. So, but I still believe that even though it costs what it costs, this stuff's about 10 bucks a quart, it is, to me, the best oil on the market. I have a friend who is up in northern Iowa. His name's Don Smith. He has a YouTube channel. He is a master diesel mechanic. He is also an AMSOIL rep. He's very smart on this stuff. He's done the research. He runs AMSOIL and everything. Most of his customers run AMSOIL and are literally getting millions of miles out of their big trucks. So it's well worth looking into if you have not. If you're running something a little older that's not under warranty, you can run this 12 months, 25,000 miles. Change your oil filter and then top off, because your filter is what's really, as long as your oil doesn't break down, and AMSOIL will not break down, it takes heat way beyond what this motor is capable of producing. So we're going to check her again. We've let that settle. Wipe her down good. Down in until she clicks. Up as straight as we can. And like that, I'm going to do it again. Okay, so we're, wherever you can see it, we're up to above the, you can see how the oil is over that hole. So we're getting there. oil in it. I'm going to put the rest of it in it. Back on. Settle for just a minute. Check it, pull it, wipe it down good. Check it. And see if you can see it. About halfway up the crosshatch section. That's 6 quarts. That's where we want to be. That tells me a couple of things. It tells me that we got all the old oil out. But patience is handy there. Let her drip. Got your motor up. I let this sit and run for a few minutes before I start changing the oil. Warm your motor up so the oil thins out so that it will run well out of there. And last but not least, we want to record what we did. Okay, so that is basically it. The last thing we have to do is get pencil and paper, get the receipts. I keep all that in my glove box. I will write down the date, what I did, which was a 6-quart oil change, exactly what I used. I will keep the receipt with me there. That allows me to show that I have complied with the manufacturer's suggested practices on their maintenance schedules and such. They cannot deny you a warranty claim simply because you did your own oil changes. You do have to be able to prove it. I think that's a lot of the reason people take them back to the dealerships, is simply because that way there's a record there, or Jiffy Lube or whoever you use, I guess. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I just kind of, most of the time I do my own. Once in a while, if I have to do it in the dead of winter because I don't have a garage, you see me doing all my work out here in nature. So I do pay a shop in town once in a while to change the oil. I'll get it and take it up there, and I'll pay them the 20 or 30 bucks or whatever they charge to do it, because it's, you know, dead of winter and I don't really want to crawl around on the frozen ground. But for the most part, I do my own maintenance. I always have. I learned as a kid, and I'm just, you know, Ford, or at least the dealership that I bought this from, gave me a free oil change, so I used that at about 1,500 miles to get all the contaminants out of the engine. I know they do a better job than they used to, but I still like the idea of getting that initial oil. They don't call it break-in oil anymore, but that's what it is. It's break-in oil. I want that out of my engine fairly quickly. 1,000 or 1,500 miles generally on a new car is about what I do. I want to make sure that initial contaminants that gets flushed down gets into my filter, right? The more crud there is floating around in your oil, the more crud your filter is going to pick up, and the more plugged your filter is going to become. So the sooner you get that out of your engine, to my line of thinking, the sooner the better, you know. I want it gone, and so I usually use the free oil change that they give me with a new car to do that. And then I go to the AMSOIL after that, and like I said, I'll do it about every 6 months or every 10,000 miles, right in there. I think that's about what Ford calls for. I would have to look at the owner's manual to be sure. So as long as it's under Ford warranty, that's what I will do. Once it's out of Ford warranty, then I'll do what AMSOIL recommends, which is 12 months, 25,000 mile oil changes, because that is what they designed their oil to be. So anyway, I didn't mean this to be a commercial for AMSOIL, but it is good stuff, and it's worth looking into if you have not. Okay, so I keep this little notebook in my glove box. As you can see, I did an oil change at Victory Ford. That's where I bought this, Victory Ford in Kansas City, Kansas. April 29th at 1,463 miles. I just did one 8.6 of 22. She has 9,123 miles. So 9123. AMSOIL, and done at home. And I will dig out the receipt and put it in the glove box. And that pretty much completes the oil change. This is not hard. It's not hard to go pay and have it done, but this way I know it's done and I know it's done right.